Moving on to self-closing HTML tags. So from lesson 1, you all would have noticed that I would have used the BR line break and the HR horizontal rule tags, and that they were a bit different from the standard HTML elements. So let's talk a little bit about standard HTML elements. This diagram shows you the basic structure of an HTML tag. So it usually has a start or opening tag. There's usually some data or information, and incidentally there could also be other HTML tags, right? A closing or end tag, and this is preceded by a /, and that gives you the general structure of an HTML tag. So when we saw the self-closing tags HR and BR, what was happening there? Right, so we have HR and BR. Let me increase this font size so that. So we use BR as like this, and we use HR like this, and this does not conform to this standard basic structure of an HTML tag. So this occurs because there are some classes of tags that are called self-closing tags. And self-closing tags are all tags of another type called void tags. And a void element is an HTML element that cannot contain data. So it's always empty basically. And because of that, there's no need for it to ever have this type of structure, because this structure is designed so that data, information, another tag could be placed within the parent tag. If a tag by design or an element by design cannot have data, it cannot have any information within it, it cannot have any other tag within it, such an element is known as a void element. So all void elements are self-closing elements, and they are represented by self-closing tags. So that's the simple explanation, and there are a few things to know about void tags or void elements. So you may come across the term empty elements, and I don't want you guys as beginners to believe that empty and void are equivalent. A lot of persons use the terms interchangeably, and the literature as well isn't too clear on void and empty as being explicitly defined. So I'll define it for you guys. So I just defined void elements. A void element is an HTML element that by design cannot contain text or data or other tags or any sort of information like that. So because it is that way by design, they are simply written in the self-closing format. An empty element is an element that has no data or no information or no child tags within it. So what is the difference between an empty element and a void element? Very simple. Void elements are void by design. An empty element could be empty simply because there just isn't anything within it. So for example, if we were to do, let's go do some coding in, actually I think I did it for you guys already. Yes, I did. So we have a normal element here that contains some sort of content. It it has a start tag and a closing tag. So this is good. We are accustomed to this. Now this here is an empty element, which means that it just doesn't have anything inside it. But it does have a start tag, and it does have a closing tag. So this one here is also an empty element, but this is not the valid way to write an empty element. This is only valid for void elements. So let's include that in our write-up. So this is not a valid way to mark up an empty element. So please remember that this is only valid for actually void elements, such as BR or HR. So our next line says it. This is a void element, and this is how you write void elements. So an empty element, which could be a normal element without anything between it, should never be written this way. And similarly, a void element should never be written in the manner of a empty element. So don't ever write BR or HR in this manner. Again, your browsers may be very forgiving to this type of thing, but it would demonstrate a lack of understanding of the principles behind them. So that is a simple explanation for self-closing elements. I hope you guys got it and understood it, and you could always refer back to this video if you need help in understanding void elements and the difference between void and empty elements.